Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today is just going to be a quick video or kind of a quick update on a lot of the builds that I've done this year, because I feel like I've just done them and then not really kind of followed up with them. So it's just going to be a quick chat, a quick tour around everything, and just going through how it's doing or any issues, because there is quite a few issues at the minute. And yeah, just to basically catch you up with what's been happening. So the curtains are closed in the room just because it's going to be easier with viewing the tank. So we'll start off with these two tanks. So I don't know if anybody will notice or not, but the first thing that's kind of changed with these two tanks is the cabinets. So the previous cabinets that I had were some cabinets from All Pond Solutions, and they were deeper than the actual tank. They went back an extra 15 centimeters, so there was always this big gap at the back, and the tank's really like jutted out, and it took up a lot of room, like unnecessary room. It just didn't look as good as it could. So I finally saved up and got two proper ADA, well, they're not ADA, but they're cabinets for the 45p. Now these are from Aquarium Gardens. I think that they are one of the only stores or anyone that I can really find that do these. So they are quite expensive. I think they're about £350 each. So yeah, it's a lot of money on cabinets. However, the build quality is fantastic, and they look fantastic as well. So I am really happy with them. But yeah, it's, you know, £700 on two cabinets is a lot of money. And I guess, seeing as they're the only ones that do them, they've pretty much got the monopoly on that one. But yeah, they are now sitting on two flush tanks, which immediately just makes the tanks just look completely different, in my opinion. It's amazing how it almost frames them. But yeah, they've got like a little movable shelf. They've obviously got the little holes in the side just for everything. Yes, I have a Lego Easter bunny that I've not built. But yeah, so that's kind of the first change on these two tanks. Now for a sad change, the better fish that was in this tank, if anybody remembers, who I named Anubius, he sadly passed away this week. He for a while has had a massive, what seemed like a tumour growing almost by his gill, which is weird because the last better fish that I had in this tank died of the same thing. And part of me was wondering, is there something in this tank that was causing that to happen? There is other fish in this tank. There is some ottos, which have been in there for ages, and the shrimp, and they're surviving fine. But strangely, yeah, two fish have died of the same problem in this tank. So it's definitely put me off putting another better fish in here. I did dose the tank, which I don't think is really recommended, but I dosed it with the correct dose of methylene blue. But some people say that it can have an adverse effect on the sort of biologicalness of your filter, sort of to do with like the bacteria and things like that. It can kind of disrupt it. But I just thought I just want to kind of essentially nuke the tank. I mean, he was getting blue baths and he was getting medicated with various things over the time that he was showing signs of illness, but nothing really worked for a long time. So yeah, I had got to the point where I could tell he didn't have long left, but unfortunately I just found him a couple of days ago laying on the bottom. So I think I am kind of done with fancy betters. I just find that at the minute there's quite a lot of genetic problems. I don't know if it's overbreeding, but pretty much all my betters that I've had some kind of lumps or tumours. And the only one that didn't, well, sorry, no, there is a few that haven't, but the ones that were sort of like the cheapest, most basic, not fancy betters are the ones that have lived for sort of like 3 years. So I don't know, maybe there's something to say about that, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, what's happening with these two scapes. With that said, the scape is looking really well. Maybe a little bit overgrown and probably is in need of a tidy, but I'm not going to rescape this tank for the new fish that I put in it, because I think this is definitely one of my favourites. It definitely needs a trim. Like this Anubius here is just far too big and it kind of ruins everything. So I will sort of tidy it up. But yeah, definitely keeping that scape. As for the shallow tank, this is doing amazingly well. I think we have also lost one chili from this scape. But aside from that, the shrimp are breeding like absolute crazy. They're just everywhere. There's probably too many. The grass and everything in the background is growing wild. And yeah, there's various sort of grasses in there. There's Eleocharis acicularis, there's Eriocauron Vietnam, there's Albida brown, there's Parvula, there's Liliopsis brasiliensis New Zealandii, whatever it's called. So there's just a ton of grasses in the background that have really started to creep forward now, starting to get runners in the foreground, as you can see. So I'll probably have to start pulling them out. The rocks are quite green. Part of me doesn't like it, and part of me does, because I'm like, oh, well, it looks natural. But then I look back at old photos where they were just sort of really bright and they popped, and I was like, oh, I think I prefer it like that. So it's definitely starting to get an aged look, but yeah, I don't mind. It's just one of those things. The chilies are all quite happy, looking redder than ever, which is good, because I was beginning to worry in this tank that it was just too open for them and that they were sort of a bit stressed, but now they're just everywhere and they're really coloured up. So yeah, this tank's doing well, so kind of all good news on this tank. And as for this tank, it is awaiting new fish, so I think I'm going to go with the nano species of fish. I might mix up two species. Part of me is wondering or debating some Tucano tetras, but let me know what you think. What do you think would look good in this tank? Because I'm not really sure. I did debate moving my Celestial Pearl Danios over into it, but they are quite happy in their scape. So yeah, I'm a little bit stuck on that one. So we'll move it over to the big tank, or the most problematic tank at the minute. Now, this tank, maybe not from a distance, but up close, is absolutely covered. Well, I say covered. It probably isn't capturing it on camera. You can perhaps see there. It is worse on in real life than on camera. But you can kind of just see these waves of thread algae that have just attached themselves to every single plant. Hardscape. There was even some on a snail. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I was adamant that it was just a case of sorting out Purigen and Foscard in the filter, but apparently not. It's been bad for quite a few months now, and it seems to be getting worse. So I've tried various things with the lighting, and then I did a water test, and it turned out that my nitrates were on 0. So that could be a problem. And given that it's such an established tank, it's weird that algae would kick in at this stage. And so the only thing that can really change, the only kind of variable, I guess, that can naturally occur is the nutrients, because over time they are going to deplete. So when I did obviously a water test and saw that the nitrogen was 0, that's perhaps not ideal. So I am waiting on it to be delivered today. It could come any minute, but I'm going to try the 2-hour Aquarist complete fertilizer, and I'm also going to resort to some chemicals, which I don't always like doing. But a lot of people have recommended APT Fix. So I think I am going to give that a try. It's not, don't get me wrong, the tank, apologise for the reflections, the tank doesn't look bad. It's in desperate need of a trim, which again, do probably today or tomorrow at some point. But yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to lower the lighting a little bit. So I had put it up thinking the plants weren't getting enough light. But yeah, it's a tricky one. And the thing is, you've just kind of got to change one thing at a time to figure out what's working. You see that killifish there just resting in the plants. He's only got one eye. When I moved them in there, probably up to nearly a year ago now, he started picking a fight with a rosy tip tetra and he lost. So yeah, he's been humbled, but he's the cheekiest fish in there. Sorry, but yeah, so algae's not the worst thing, I guess. But I guess as people who keep planted tanks and aquascapers or whatever, it's not really what we want. It's not the goal. So I'm just gonna try this, gonna do one thing at a time and see what happens. I lowered the light in last week, and it's not progressed as much or as fast as it had before. So maybe that started to help, but I think definitely the nutrients thing is an issue. But it's weird because like that plant there, that Staragania repens, it is growing like mad. Like it nearly grows up. It's probably more than halfway in the tank. But then the stems, like I planted a load of new stems in here. You might remember a few videos back. Well, barely any of them, apart from the Balansae, which you can see there, have kind of come to the top. Maybe some Pinnatifida, which is weird because I never really have a look with that. But like the Rotalas have just really struggled because the algae's just like kicked its ass before it's even started. So that's where we are on this tank. So yeah, we'll try these new fertilizers. We'll try the APT fix, and we'll probably do a video on how that gets on. So moving over to the new scape, this was the last video that I filmed, which was creating this scape, and so far so good. Nothing's massively changed, I don't think. There's maybe been a little bit of growth. This fish, as you may remember, he suffered really bad fin rot. I thought he was going to die, and now he's like looking as good as new, so I'm really happy about that. He's doing well. I guess there is some growth, especially the Tripartita, which literally just grows like a weed, but nothing apart from some crypts, which are looking a little bit sketchy. But other than that, everything's kind of like settled in fine. The hairgrass has done nothing because I've run out of Seacom Advance. So again, that's something I'm going to have to get some more of and start dosing, because I just feel like that really helps a low-tech Eleocharis carpet. But yeah, other than that, hello, everything is just, yeah, just plain sailing from now on. The water changes are pretty much down to once a week. It's just a case of waiting for it to go in. It's I'm not going to say it's like a boring scape, but it's just one that I think it just needs to be grown in, I think, for anyone to see the vision that I had. Because I mean, a lot of people even said when they watched it that they weren't really taken by the scape until it got planted, and then they were like, oh, okay, it doesn't look that bad then. Because it is a really, really simple scape, but I think it's one of them things that it definitely looks better in real life. Like a picture just doesn't really capture it, or capture any of the sort of depth or like the little crevices that there is. It's just really hard to kind of get on film. But yeah, I think give it another couple of months, and it'll sort of be where I imagined. And then moving on to this tank, again, this is a tank I am having some issues with. So this is the cube aquarium that is home to my Galaxy Rasboras. I lost one of them the other day as well. It always seems to come in threes, but the issue that I'm having with this tank is staghorn algae, quite bad as well. Mostly all on the trident fern, which makes sense because it's a slow growing plant and it is kind of right above the light. So it could have something to do with it. But I have made a few changes in this tank. So I took the filter out because it wasn't really doing anything, and it just made the tank look pretty ugly, and I figured it was stable enough to be filterless. And it had algae before this point anyway. But I planted an Echinodorus rubra in the background. Now they are massive root feeders, so they should really take up a lot of nutrition, which kind of, I'm hoping it means that I shouldn't really need a filter, but I am going to add some floating plants. There is some duckweed, which I didn't put in there. I don't know how it gets in. It just spawns itself. But yeah, I scoop that out as much as I can, so that's probably not really doing anything, but we've just got, I mean, that's covered. It's a bit of a shit show. But yeah, the APT fix, I'm hoping, is going to help this. But aside from that, the fish are, I don't know, they seem really happy in here. The light's on high, I actually have it on the lowest setting because I find that they come out more. They're such a shy fish. They're impossible to get a decent photo or video of. But, oh, look, you've come out. You're just showing me up as if you've done this, but hello. I'm just going to stay really still. Would you look at this? They're absolutely calling BS on me right now, aren't they? Oh, these are my absolute favourite fish. I absolutely love them. But yeah, what was I saying? The fish seem happy, but I have lowered the light because they seem to be a little bit more confident in coming out when the light's lower. But just for the sake of the video, I've turned it up because it is quite like down here, there's a lot of shadow. It's a very dark tank at the bottom. And then obviously up here, it's a lot brighter. Here is all bare at the minute because I'm waiting for the Echinodorus to grow up. And I'm hoping that it's going to grow up and sort of out of the top of the tank and sort of be, I don't know, almost twined with the Talawa wood that sticks out. I just thought it'd look really cool with some nice Echinodorus leaves. And I took out a lot of this, which is Matagrosense, I think it's called. Myriophyllum matagrosense, because as nice as it is, it's a bit like a Limnophila, but maybe a little bit nicer. It was just kind of, I don't know, I regret taking it out now because I took the filter out, but when the filter was in there, it was just getting blasted around by the filter. And I just replaced it with some big Java ferns in the background, which I don't dislike, like that's fine. But yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't done it now, but just one of them things. But we've got some Java ferns either side as a background plant, which is something that I do in nano tanks because I did it before in a previous scape and it did look really effective. But yeah, they kind of need to grow a little bit yet. And then obviously we've got the Echinodorus rubra, which is sort of like one of the smaller Echinodoruses, but it's still probably quite big. But it's just a waiting game for that to kind of grow out of the water. But I feel like once it takes hold, it'll just, because he's only been in there about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. But yeah, I feel like once it kind of takes hold, it should look really cool. And it should kind of help with the water quality. It's a shame because this tank doesn't come off great on camera either, because you've got all these sort of, well, there's a ton of reflections for starters. You've got all these like little dark crevices, which the fish really like hiding in, and then obviously it comes up to this sort of brighter middle part. I just feel like it doesn't capture it on camera very well. But yeah, that's where we are with this scape. Algae. No algae. Algae. Them two doing okay. So 2 out of 3. No, 2 out of... Why did I have to count how many tanks I've got? 2 out of 5 ain't bad. That's not the Meatloaf song, but yeah. So that's kind of where we are in the fish room. So next I'm going to show you the doers. If anybody is a long-term viewer of the channel, I made some little doer terrarium style scapes. So next we will go have a look at those. I am just going to turn the lights off on these tanks because they're not actually supposed to be on right now. Just did it for the video, so we'll be back in a second. Before we check out the doers, I think this guy might need a little introduction. I've not shown him on the channel before, but this is Chicken. Say hi. Chicken doesn't speak, Chicken just sings. Chicken's just learnt to sing If You're Happy and You Know It, only he's kind of put a remix on it. So he just basically sings If You're Happy, Clap Your Hands. I say sings, he whistles, "You gonna drink, son?" But yeah, I'm surprised he's not screamed or sung or shouted throughout this whole video because he's very noisy, aren't you? And he's just recently decided that now he likes us and wants to be tame because probably just shy of a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, he just landed on me for the first time and now he's like obsessed with me. Like he just won't leave me alone when he comes out. Well, I love it because he's like my little baby and he just sits on my shoulder and cleans himself and poops and eats all your snacks. And yeah, he's really messy and dusty. Cockatiels are really dusty. But yeah, I absolutely love him. So this is Chicken's room. Yeah. Why are you being shy? he's really noisy. He's just having my life. The frogs, I think I've shown these guys before. You won't see them right now because they sleep all day. Their tanks just had a bit of a trim back because it was an absolute mess. Well, I'll say mess, it was a jungle and they love it, and it's more trimmed for me than them. They would happily just have it overgrown, I think. But yeah, had a bit of a tidy up. I'll overlay some pictures that I took of them the other night, actually, because I did actually manage to capture them out. But anyway, the point of coming into this room was to check out the doers. Now, I apologise that trying to get a good video or even picture of these, the light that shines on them is pretty rubbish and it's quite yellow and it just really doesn't do them justice. So what I might end up doing is moving them into a better light so you can see properly. I'm just going to get rid of some of that condensation. But you might remember when I created this Anubias gracilis kind of showpiece, where I just wanted to kind of showcase this plant. I did end up adding some extra plants because I probably wouldn't have, but because you can kind of just see blue through the back, it almost made it really dark. So I added some wood and some extra plants, and there's some like moss and things in there. But yeah, this light just doesn't really seem to do them justice. I'll probably move them under a better light just to kind of show you what they look like once I've kind of gone around them. And then this is now a Photonia terrarium. I've just sprayed them so they're a little bit condensed. So very simple, and it's just showcasing some Photonias. Again, it looks pretty bad under this light, so I will change it. This isn't doing too well because I keep forgetting to water it. So as you can see, the plants are just dying. I'm not very good at house plants. I'm going to replace the soil in the back of this. It's supposed to be like a terrarium soil that supposedly keeps its humidity and moisture, but it doesn't. It literally dries out after a few days, which is causing the plants to dry. It was full of Photonias, which died within like the first week. So I'm probably going to change it to aqua soil and change the plants and have like this. This is because I'd watered it, and then I either don't water it or overwater it. So this isn't supposed to have water here, but it has. But what I think I'm going to do is put aqua soil in the back, and then actually I'll be able to have this as a like a water section. So it'll be almost like paludarium-y, which might be quite cool. So yeah, I'm going to change that. But some of the plants are all right. They're hypostas, I think, which are doing fine. But Photonias definitely like humidity, because like in here, they're just completely taking off. Like they're doing great, but yeah, humidity is definitely needed. And then this little Dua pot maru is just home to some Booth and Anubias again, doing fine. Nothing special, just really simple. Just sort of like a showcase piece, if you like. So I will either move these and get some better footage of them so you can actually see, because this just looks not great. But yeah, so next, where to? This little jar that was built a few weeks ago. It's doing all right, to be honest. I'm not going to lie, it's been totally neglected. It's not dead, but it's also not thriving. Probably going to change it soon. Not necessarily because it needs it, because it's not that bad, but because everything's just grown too big too quickly, and it's just sort of like crammed in, and the scale's a little bit all over. So I'll probably change it to something a little bit more simple, because I do actually like having this in here. It's like quite a cool little night light thing on a night when you're watching TV, and just having that. So yeah, that'll probably change at some point. Next, I'll show you the bowl aquarium, which is in the kitchen, but I might have to show you that when it gets dark, because, well, I'll explain why. Let's go. Yeah, so the light on this tank is like, I think it's like a 2 or 3 watt light. It is so low powered that in the day it doesn't even look on. So it just kind of looks dark. So I'll show you some footage of it at night time, because that's pretty much when it gets left on, like overnight. And it's just like a little night light in the kitchen. But honestly, this bowl has been just like, I mean, look how they are so red. I don't even get them that red in an aquarium that's got a highlight. So yeah, it's just been so trouble free, like, and everything's really healthy. There's one tiny spot of algae which isn't even bothering me. Um, but yeah, it's just a really healthy little ecosystem. I've not done, I think I've done like one water change on it. There's nothing in it. There's snails and that's it. But yeah, it's just doing really well, and it just looks really cool on a night. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with this one. So I'll probably keep this for a little bit longer. Um, and now I will show you the pond and the mini pond, and then that will just about wrap this update up. So it's a bit of a windy day. I apologise. But yeah, it's actually doing really well. Well, the exterior is doing really well. The pond plants themselves are doing okay, but there is a ton of algae. Obviously, this is what happens when it's just a nature pond and there's no filter. But to be honest, I'm not bothered. Like, outside algae is fine. It's all nature. It's all natural. And there's some baby newts in there. So I'm kind of just happy to leave that to do its own thing. But yeah, it's actually, I really like it. But since I've built it, it's done nothing but rain. So I feel like I haven't had a chance to really enjoy it. The only thing that's kind of been annoying is that even though I put a weed membrane down, there is just grass growing up through the stones. So that's a little bit annoying. I don't really know what to do there because that isn't what I wanted to happen. But yeah, that is what it is, unfortunately. And then just behind it, excuse the mess over there, just behind it, you might be able to see one of the mini ponds. Now, this is the first one I built. There's an extra plant there to go by the pond. But this is the first mini pond I built, and I've not touched it in months. And aside from some yellowing leaves, it's just, yeah, it's doing really, really well. I've not had to do anything. You might just need a little water top up every now and then. But this grass is just absolutely exploded. It's wild. So it's, yeah, they definitely work. I can say that much, and they're really easy. This as well, this is pretty cool. This is I think it's Bacopa caroliniana, which I was growing inside as an aquatic plant. It was in one of my scapes, and I brought it outside in here, and it's actually grown, which is crazy. It's actually grown more than I've even realised. And what's really annoying is that I can't grow immersed plants inside when I do mini ponds, like inside, but outside. I think it's just patience and sometimes just ignoring these things. I think sometimes I sort of fiddle with them too much. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I didn't actually realise how much had grown. This is completely taken over, this grass, to be fair. These are seen better days. They did get little yellow, I think they got flowers on them. These bamboos are doing pretty cool. They were really, really tall as well. I put some of them in the pond because I really liked them. But yeah, all in all, the ponds are doing pretty well. I did get like a little solar pump. It doesn't really do anything, it's a bit rubbish. It was just to kind of get a bit of water movement, but never mind. Yeah, that's probably it for today's like little update video. If you've got any questions about anything, please leave it in the comments and I will do my best to answer. Yeah, just by the way, and if you're interested, I have got some t-shirts now which are available to buy on an online store, this being one of them, the Japanese fighting fish t-shirt, but there's like tons of designs on there now. So if you're interested, take a look. It's pretty much worldwide delivery. There's literally a few exceptions, some countries which can't be delivered to, but yeah, States, most of Europe, even like Asia and stuff. So yeah, check them out if you're interested. I will be doing another video soon, but I don't have any plans at the minute, so I don't know what type of video it'll be, but please stick around and or subscribe to the channel if you like, because there will be something coming up. I'm just not quite sure what it is yet. I just feel like I've been super busy with everything and I've not had a chance to think ahead. But yeah, there will be some builds and stuff at some point. There's just nothing on paper yet, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you to... There's chicken. What? You gonna sing? What? That's not singing. Go on, son, end the video with a song. Do it, chicken. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it in front of you because he gets shy. You can hear him practicing it really quietly to himself. But then he just seems to get worse as he practices. He's very special, aren't you? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.